So speaking of the electronics, that's like a new division that you started, I think within the last few years, if I'm not
About
mistaken.
2012 is when we jumped into it.
Okay, for some reason I thought it was a pivot you made recently. So you've been at it for a while.
Yes, the industry changed quite a bit too. I believe it was around 2012 we ventured into the electronics industry. And when you look at recycling electronics, it really is a commodity. I mean, if you got a desktop computer, you got a steel housing in it, you got an electronic board, you got a power supply, hard drive, CD floppy drive, but it's all commodity. It's steel, copper. The boards have precious metal in them: gold, silver, platinum. And so we're like, how can we implement the electronics recycling into the metals? Because it was still pretty new out there. A lot of the big recyclers weren't touching it yet because a lot of it has to be inside. It can't be out in the rain because, the boards have lead in them. So, I mean, there's environmental things there. And the big guys that really had the capital to get into it, just like, we're not going to mess with that. Well, we're sitting here as the underdogs and we're like, hey, let's do this. How can we make it work, And so we started dabbling in it a little bit, put a little team together internally, some young guys that, are really interested in it. And we figured that let's do this right if we're going to do it. So we're part of an organization called ISRI. It's Institute of Scrap Recycling Industry. And they had they partnered up with a company called R2 and Rios. And when you go out in industrial applications, typically you hear the ISO 9000, 18,000. Well, basically what Rios is, it's recycling industry operating standard, and it involves your quality, environmental, health, and safety all together into the scrap metal recycling business. And we got certified in that. And then above that was R2, which is responsible electronics recycling. So with both of these certifications, it costs a lot of money. You got to have third-party auditors come on site each year. But the electronics, the big thing is these third world countries that people are selling into, they have to be, I think they call it OEC countries, like certified to where the US can trade with them. And they don't want little kids out there in river streams like tearing this stuff apart. I mean, they got to be reputable companies that you're selling to. So that was a big thing on, how do we keep these overseas markets honest too? Like, we don't want to be contributing to child endangerment or environmental hazards and all that stuff as much as we can. I mean, sometimes I haven't gone over there, but you can hire firms to go over there and physically put eyes on these things and do an audit. And we haven't had to. All of our downstream vendors that we use, we have to qualify, and you got to get references. And I mean, you get into the financial side of it, there's all kinds of things, but everybody's legit. The auditors come in whenever we're dealing with hard drives, anything with sensitive data. That's a big deal. You can't have data breaches. We got a huge insurance policy on that. And, as it comes in, it's got to get bar scanned in. It's got to go in a locked cage in the side of our facility that's got limited access cameras. I mean, there's all kinds of guidelines we got to follow. But, these big corporations, especially when you get into healthcare and military, like, that information cannot get out. And it's detrimental. So, I mean, we have to be serious about it. As much as it's hard to really make this all work, especially in a high volume environment. But you got to have systems in place. You got to have the software in place that can track the stuff as you're doing it. Some customers will sell us a mixed load of computer boards. They call them PCB, printed circuit boards. And we've got different grades. So we got to go through and sort all this stuff out. And I guess getting into the way the electronics works. So we work business to business. We run box trucks. We've got crews that can go on site and do office clean outs. So around town, especially in the inner city with the big office buildings, a lot of big corporate companies, they lease the space, and it's easier for them just to walk out of the space versus moving all this stuff out. And so what we can go in and do, we can go in and take care of all the office furniture, get rid of that, all the phone systems, the laptops, the printers, if they've got Chromebooks, cell phones, I mean, any type of electronic that's in there, server cabinets. I mean, we can go in and literally take everything out. We'll bring it back to our facility. We bring it all in our inventory. It's scanned in. Depending on how the agreement's set up, we can do like a profit share agreement with the customer to where, hey, whatever we get out of this value, if we've got good equipment that we can actually tech out, wipe all the sensitive data and find a market for this, we can offer you, say, 10% of the return after we offset our cost of the whole cleanup. And I mean, when you start getting into the newer stuff with these laptops that people are using in the offices, even servers, depending on what's in them, I mean, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. And so people like the fact that they can do a profit sharing thing. And another thing we do on top of that, when you get into really big corporations, when you offer to pay them for something, they are almost so big that they don't even know where to put that money in their budget. So what we offer them, we partner up with the Ronald McDonald House out of St. Louis here, and we say, okay, whatever profits are left after all of our expense with doing these clean outs, we'll bring it in, we'll inventory everything, we'll put a spreadsheet together for you guys and show you whatever proceeds are left, we will give a donation to the Ronald McDonald House in your name. They're like, that's excellent, and so it helps them out, it helps charity out, and it just, doing what's right for a better tomorrow.
I can see where that is such a huge help for any corporation, especially the large ones, because you're making it hassle free for them, right? You're just going in there. They don't have to worry about anything. They literally just vacate.
Sure.
And then two, either profit share or a donation. And again, they have no part in any of this. Diddy and North is handling everything. That's awesome.
Yep, we're certified and insured to back it. We've got all the processes in place. And we're not even just limited to the St. Louis market. I mean, we're partnered up with firms all throughout the United States to where they call it a white glove service. You go in there and you package all the stuff up. We can still get it back to our facility and do all the inventories and everything, but we can outsource the labor side of it and the freight side of it. And we can, depending on what type of security we need to do with that project, we can actually have another party follow the truck back all the way back to Missouri till it gets to our facility. They can record it, they can do whatever they have to do, but just making sure that whatever information's in that truck is not being breached.